time for the Burning River Sportscast. The weather outside is frightful, but the Browns delivered something delightful. Saturday night, our stockings got stuffed with an AFC North divisional win. Hopefully there's cable in hell for that bastard Modell to enjoy his purple pigeons get roasted like chestnuts over an open fire. Do the Browns have what it takes to bring home another W this week against the Jolly Saints of Nick? Does anyone still care? Is anyone still listening? Either way, we wish you all a very Merry Christmas, and we'll break it all down for you next on the Burning River Sportscast.
I bet it would. I bet it would, you son of a bitch. Point is, I've got no point.
Are you an embarrassment to mankind?
Yeah, that's fair.
Roughing the gasser, 15 yards.
Kevin Stefanski is such a spice bag.
And when in doubt, break the shocker out.
It's ham all around.
Man,
Should we have ham tonight?
I wish I had something cool to say. I like the honey baked ham, but I don't like it. Has
My cool thing to say is I like ham.
Welcome into the Burning River Sportscast, presented by Tappan Media. I'm Kenny Thunder, alongside the man who spent 72 days lost at sea with nothing but a Johnny Carson lunchbox and a zip bag full of Triscuits. The always cantankerous and sometimes pancakerous Red Hot Ronnie Jams.
Love pancakes.
And in the booth today, you'll find the largest marine mammal not found in the sea, Big Seal.
Big Seal, how you doing?
What up, what's good?
Ronnie, why don't you go ahead and remind our dear friends where they can find the sickest drip not in an IV bag?
Well, first of all, I have to address something. I can hear you talking, Kenny, but I can't see you. So where's that coming from?
I get it.
He's got a camo shirt on.
Good
dad joke.
Good joke.
I'm dad now. You can find the podcast wherever you get your podcast. That's in any of the podcast directories, but specifically Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, Castro, and so many more.
Booth man, can you turn my headphones down just a hair? Just a hair.
Are you going to keep that in there?
Yeah.
We're just editing on the fly.
It was loud.
All right. So how was your weekend, Kenny?
Good weekend. Look, we talked about this last week. I was stoked about it. Football all weekend long. Went and saw the folks. My mom went and saw the in-laws. Holiday time. Just trying to get some of those things out of the way.
Merry Christmas and happy holidays.
Is your Christmas shopping done?
Yeah, it's done. I mentioned when we were talking before the show, my family, my immediate family, siblings and mom, we do Christmas the week before because then we're not battling with in-laws for Christmas Day or Christmas Eve or whatever. So
smart.
So we have to get our stuff done early, but it's nice because then the whole week leading up to Christmas, you just relax.
You just have so much family.
Yeah, you're telling me.
Like, you don't come from like this huge family, but you have so much family.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
Because both your sisters have lots of kids, and
oh yeah, but
then you got your brother just hanging out there.
He's doing brother things. He's living the life, man. What
about you, Seals? Are you still a Jehovah's Witness, or?
No, I quit that yesterday.
Oh, dang, feels bad.
He's reformed.
What did you do this weekend? It's Sealy, the Big Seal.
The Big Seal in the booth.
Oh, well, let's see. I was a dad Friday night, Saturday morning.
You just turn that on and off. Like sometimes you're not dad.
Occasionally I'm dad, but other times I'm not dad.
No, I was full-time dad.
Okay.
Megan was working Saturday. Danny turned 18, my little brother. Shout out to him.
Wow.
He made it. Good job, Ruth. Danny made it to 18. You did your job.
He's not little anymore.
He's done it. Finally. He's an adult.
Nice. Well, I guess we'll jump into this. We gave a funeral procession after the Bengals loss because there was virtually no way the Browns are making the playoffs. However, for one more week with this win, the Browns' playoffs hopes mathematically still exist. But for all intents and purposes, they're dead. Yeah, so they ain't making the playoffs.
They need a lot of help.
Baltimore and Cincinnati can't win another game. And they need help from literally everybody else because everybody that's in the wild card race holds tiebreakers over Cleveland. So,
well, yeah, because they beat us.
Yeah. So with that, let's just go ahead and jump into the Week 15 recap. All right. So as always, we're going to start with our opponents, the Baltimore Ravens. Let's start with their offense. Tyler Huntley, household name, 17 of 30 for 138 yards and an interception. Fantastic stat line.
Yeah. Look, this team in general is a different team without Lamar Jackson.
Oh, as soon as he goes down, it's over for them.
I mean, this was almost...
And for some God-forsaken reason, they haven't paid him. I don't, like... They're still iffy about him. They're not sure.
I think they might move on from him in the offseason.
I'm starting to get the feeling they might as well, but I just don't understand how you literally, the past 4 years, every time he gets hurt, you don't just lose. You lose virtually every game.
I mean, that whole offense is built around him. But and I think maybe what the ownership group sees is just that it's not that he's fragile.
They don't want an RG3.
Well, yeah, it's not that he's fragile, but the way he plays, it lends itself to getting injured. And if you miss 3-4 weeks, you can ruin the season.
I don't know the answer to this off the top of my head. I know for sure not the last 2 seasons, but has he finished a season, started 16 games for them, 17 games for them at any point?
Probably the year he won MVP. But I don't know.
You're probably right,
but I would guess.
But the last 2 seasons, for sure, he's missed multiple games.
Either way, Tyler Huntley's a bag of ass.
That's true. And then so we got J.K. Dobbins. He came back recently. He's been playing well. He continued to play well against the Browns. 13 carries for 125 yards. So he was kind of their bright spot on offense.
I know he had the arthroscopic knee surgery, and so he looks, watching him, I mean, because there was a couple times in that game where he would have had breakaway runs that probably when he was fully healthy.
A little tentative.
He's just not as explosive, but I mean, he was plenty fast because he ran for 125 yards, I guess. But I feel like it could have been a lot worse if we had a fully healthy J.K. Dobbins on our hands.
Yeah, like I said, he was definitely the brightest spot on their offense. Gus Edwards didn't have a bad day either. He got 7 rushes for 55 yards. And as a team, the Ravens averaged 7.1 yards per rush against us, and somehow the Browns were able to dodge big plays all day and hold them to 3 points. But I mean, it's just another one of those games that me and you have talked about it all season long. Like, why do teams seem to abandon the run a little bit when they get behind and like just keep running J.K. Dobbins? Clearly, he's doing something right.
Yeah, make that.
And they were only down 13-3. It wasn't like it was.
Make that 13 carries 26, and you probably win the game.
I mean, what did the score was? We ended up with 16, right? So it was.
It was 13.
It was 13-3. So 13-3 was the final.
Because we can't make a field goal.
Yeah, I forgot. He missed both. He missed 2 of them. So, but yeah, so it was 13-3. So you're in the game until the end, and you're not running. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they ran for 200 yards against us, and I mean, the thing is, Tyler Huntley wasn't winning you that game.
No.
If you had a competent quarterback playing that day and you rushed for 200 yards, you probably beat us.
Like, how in the world, if you're averaging as a team 7.1 yards per rush. That's including.
Why would you do anything else?
Yeah, that's including Huntley's rushes, which he averaged himself like 1.4 or something stupid. So, if you're averaging that, why would you give that quarterback who isn't good 30 throws? Like, what are you thinking? You sound like Kevin Stefanski.
It's the Kevin Stefanski offense.
I don't know. I digress. Mark Andrews, 3 catches, 31 yards, pretty much neutralized. DeMarcus Robinson, 6 catches. That was the team high in catches, 29 yards. So even with the 6 catches, didn't do much with them. All the other receivers, complete non-factor.
Yeah, that offense is just trash without Lamar.
Oh, as soon as that's what, mind-boggling. But anyways, Justin Tucker. This is the first time I touched on somebody who, like, one of the special teamers from the other team, because Justin Tucker is easily known as the best kicker in the league and possibly the best kicker of all time. And somehow he went 1 of 3 against the Browns this week. He had 1 blocked, which isn't all his fault, but he had 1 blocked. And then there was 1 missed, which it was the first one he missed inside of 50 yards this year. I think he was 22 of 22 inside of 50 yards before that kick on Saturday.
That was the first time since 2018 that Justin Tucker has missed 2 field goals in a game.
Yeah.
We do that on a weekly basis.
Oh, yeah. We'll get to that in a while, though, because I want to actually talk a little bit about that.
It was
for Justin Tucker to do it, that's odd.
It was interesting, and it was actually cool to see, because they ate the Ravens, but F them all. But just because
we gotta get Big Seal to jump in on the F them all. You gotta listen for those cues, man, and jump in on the F them all. It's better when we all do it. Let's try it. F them all. Yeah, this is better.
Yeah, but anyway, Justin Tucker, it brings me joy to watch someone.
I agree.
That's beat our ass struggle. So
yep. The Ravens defense had 3 sacks on the day, no turnovers forced. So I mean, they didn't really do anything. Somehow we still only ended up with 13 points, but they didn't really do anything. So
I do feel like is it Roquan Smith? Is that the he was everywhere.
He's really good. Yeah, I mean. Obviously, when they picked him up, he was leading the league in tackles, and it definitely showed. I could see why that guy leads the league in tackles.
Well, yeah.
I don't know if he still does, but he probably.
I mean, that team is a good quarterback away from being really good.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like
they rushed for 200 yards, and
they probably shouldn't pay the one that they have on their
leading tackler in the NFL.
It's like if they had an MVP quarterback.
If only.
All right, so that takes us over to Cleveland. We're gonna revert back to starting with the coaches this week, so I don't need to rant about them as much. But Mike Prefer's still trash. But they did block a kick this week, so that was awesome.
Yeah, but then we missed 2 kicks.
Listen, you take the good with the bad.
Well, Mike Prefer's all bad, so
it's all bad.
He
needs to go.
He's got to go.
But it was cool that we blocked a kick because it was Justin Tucker. Joe Woods, defense didn't look terrible, held them to 3 points, but like I said, they did give up 7.1 yards per carry, so as much as people want to be like, oh, they only scored 3 points and the defense played fantastic, 7.1 yards per carry is pretty bad.
Yeah, it felt like the defense got a lot of praise in the last 24 hours.
Mind you, 7.1 yards per carry. Don't get me wrong, J.K. Dobbins is a good running back, but they didn't even have Lamar Jackson.
No. The defense got a lot of praise over the last 24 hours, almost like people have said, like, they've turned the corner. The defense is back. Like,
and I just don't buy it.
Keep in mind, Lamar Jackson didn't play in this game. You had a quarterback that barely threw for 100 yards.
Everybody can look like world beaters against Tyler Huntley.
Looked listless all day. I mean, he couldn't find an open guy to save himself, and they did run for 200 yards against us. So it's not like the defense. Right. It was a cold, windy day, so it wasn't a day in general that kind of lends itself to big offensive performances. The defense did what they needed to do to escape with a win. But
I mean, honestly, if you look at the box score, the Ravens stats look like what we're usually looking at for the Brown stats, where they led in total yards, they led in a lot of different categories, but somehow they still ended up losing the game. Yeah. And I mean, the main one you're going to look at is turnovers for that one, but
I just think I just would caution people from.
Yeah, I agree.
From congratulating the defense.
Don't give this defense too much credit. It's only been a couple games. So
yes. Here's one other interesting thing just that I heard this week. I heard on one of the radio programs, Terry Pluto had mentioned part of the reason that they didn't fire Joe Woods earlier on in the season was
because Kevin Stefanski has no accountability on his staff.
Well, that they didn't like anyone on their bench. They didn't feel like they had a viable replacement inside the building.
So go get one from outside the building.
Well,
it seems simple.
To me, it's like, what's a more damning reason to absolutely just clean house? Like, you don't, the whole staff is bad. You're to that point where you're like, there's not a guy in this building we trust with this team.
Nobody.
Like, that's an embarrassment.
I got nothing. That's it.
Trash.
Speaking of which, Kevin Stefanik, as we like to call him, still hasn't earned his last name back.
Nope.
Look, we won 13-3, so I can't complain too much. But this was still another game where there was more than one occasion where I just had absolutely no idea what he was thinking. The first one, the main one that comes to mind is only a couple minutes into the game, and I texted you, and I was like, 3rd and short in the red zone. Fade to the corner of the end zone. I don't know. We've been talking about Stefanik for a while, and I want to stop talking about him. I want him out of here.
I agree with you, and I fear now that because you've had this, the Texans, and then obviously the bad loss with the Bengals, but now you have the Ravens that you won. You have a Saints team that's not great coming up. You have a tough but beatable Commanders team, and then the Steelers. I think to end the season, feasible that they could win out, and I think then we're stuck with this. I mean, if you finish 9-8, you're stuck with.
I'm gonna be honest with you. At this point, I don't even think we need to win out as long as we don't lose bad to any of those teams. I think he's getting another year.
But here's my other concern too. Right now is like, and look, it's not a Deshaun thing, but it's just a what's Stefanski doing with Deshaun thing, because I haven't seen him call anything that would feature Deshaun's skill set in a meaningful way.
I think the most that we've featured Deshaun's skill set so far has been when Deshaun himself improvises and then ends up getting away and runs for.
Well, yeah, when that banged up offensive line can't block anyone, and he just has to escape for his life.
Yeah, and I do like that when he scrambles. And again, this is all him. This isn't Stefanski's doing. This is he scrambles, and he's very good at keeping his eyes downfield and trying to find a receiver before he takes off and runs.
It just bothers me because he gets so much credit for like
He's an offensive genius,
quarterback guru, offensive genius, and
he's a genius. I
haven't seen him put Deshaun in a advantageous position in 3 games.
He's a genius. I don't know what to tell you.
Before I have one other thing that Stefanik really pissed me off this week.
Oh boy. What was it?
I think it was Kurt Warner on the call on Saturday with Rich Eisen.
Such a handsome guy.
Yeah, he's a nice coat. But Kurt Warner was telling a story. He's like, during during the week interviews, we talked to all the coaches and players, and he says to Stefanik, he says, well, when Nick Chubb gets the ball 20 or more times a game, you guys don't lose. And Stefanik, did you hear what Stefanik said?
I didn't. I wish I would have, because I probably would have lost my mind too.
I about fell off my chair because Stefanik says, this is to Kurt Warner. Like, this isn't like some nobody journalist that just graduated and was like in his face.
It's a Hall of Famer.
This is a guy that's a Hall of he's.
You're literally talking to a Hall of Famer.
Like, very respected in the NFL media circles.
He's far more accomplished than Kevin Stefanski.
Stefanski, in his most smug bastard way, says
he just Stefanik'd it up.
Well, I could start the game just with 22 carries to Nick Chubb, and I don't know that would help.
I bet it would. I bet it would. You son of a bitch. Listen here. 20 carries and we win. It's simple. I didn't even get there yet, but it happened this week again.
But it was just such a bitch cop out because no one's saying run the ball 20 times to start the game, Kevin. If you do that, we'll win. No one said that.
I'm going to say it. But nobody said that.
We're talking about mixing in play calling with your best player to the point where he's getting the ball enough times to change the game. Not, I could just run the ball 20 times in a row.
That seriously sounds like something like 18-year-old Ronnie would say when somebody told me that I needed to do something different. I'm like, well, I could do this. Is that good for you? Like, what?
You need to get your read steps faster. I'll just do nothing but take your read steps. Yeah.
What an idiot.
So anyway,
did Kurt Warner slap him?
Kurt kind of brushed it off because Kurt's a professional, but I was just like, just a smug response to just be like, I don't care what the record says or what the numbers say or what the analytics are. If I give the ball to Nick Chubb 20 times in a row to start the game, we probably won't win.
Kevin Stefanski? Stefanik?
F him.
F
him all.
Kevin, don't be a dick. All right, so let's get into the offense. Deshaun Watson, 18 of 28, 161 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. So he didn't light it up this week. And it was a cold, blustery day. Like, it wasn't great conditions or anything. But one thing that a couple things that I did like, completions to 8 different receivers in this is a big thing. Like, he's starting to, we had mentioned it before, he's kind of known for being able to spread the ball around, get everybody involved. He started to show glimpses of that this week, which was pretty cool. And then just overall, I like how he's progressed. He's starting to, you can see it. You can physically see it when he's playing. He's starting to adjust to the speed of the game. Like, he's starting to go through his reads and his progressions, and whereas early on he might have been trigger happy and just threw it, and that first interception when he came back is where that came from. But now you could see him kind of going through his reads and feeling more comfortable.
Yeah, look, I agree. I think in terms of progression, I think he looks like he's more in command of the offense. He looks more confident. So it's not something you can necessarily measure with statistics, but he looks like he's in command of the offense. I think that he gets it gets him going when he gets his first run off his like he when he gets his first scramble and gets some yards, like that gets him fired up, and I like that. He just you can see it in his eyes. It kind of changes him. But I also worry that Stefanik in all his glory is going to hold this guy back. And it's not that like Deshaun's come out and showed us anything to be like, oh, he's back. But I just worry that like Deshaun Watson's peak in this offense, is it the same as Jacoby's or Baker's? Like,
well, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm terrified of that. I mean, as we've gotten into it all throughout the season, I'm not a huge, I'm not a Baker hater, but I'm not a Baker fan either. But I am terrified that everybody was wrong to an extent, and it's Kevin Stefanski more than it was Baker Mayfield.
Well, yeah, I think it's within a very reasonable realm of possibility that if Deshaun stays healthy and plays all 17 games next season, if you look at his stats and Baker Mayfield's stats over a season, or even Jacoby's extrapolated to a full season,
you're in for 3,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, 15 interceptions.
Yeah, or 10, 10, whatever. Like, but not numbers not top 5 in the league numbers,
right.
Not.
Which, I mean, let's be honest here. You went and got him for $230 million for a reason. So
right.
If that's the numbers after next year, after he gets a full year, because that's what everybody's calling for. He needs a full year with Deshaun Watson. If those are the numbers after next year, I mean, I'm putting that 100% on Kevin Stefanski, and I would say, look, that guy, we know that he's got the ability. As much as there's all these naysayers out there and want to say that he's never going to be the same quarterback again, it's in there. You could even see it now, not for an extended period of time, but he showed flashes. If he has a whole season and he ends up with those same numbers, I don't care what our win-loss record is next year.
Well, yeah,
Kevin Stefanski's got to go because he's holding everybody back.
Again, we talked about...
Chances are, if those are his numbers, that we'll lose.
We talked about all season last year was that you could blame Baker, and that was fine. My concern is that Deshaun's going to continue to kind of play like this throughout the rest of this year, and the excuse will be, well, he's knocking off rust. Well, there's always another excuse. It's always that's the Stefanski staple. There's always an excuse. There's always a reason.
Well, everything we want's on the other side of hard.
On the other side of hard. I will say this, just going back to this game, and you had mentioned at the top just a little bit about the weather is blustery and cold. I heard a lot of people talking today about. It was not really a secret that Deshaun didn't necessarily.
Damn it! You're always stealing my thunder
in the cold
because you're
thunder. Snow. I don't think I'm going to go to the same place that you're going to go with this. It's that I heard a lot of praise about it didn't seem to bother him. And look, here's the thing: you paid this guy $230 million to play quarterback for your team in the NFL. I don't care if you're in Canada, if you're in the UK, if you're in Florida, if you're in Arizona.
Should never even enter the conversation.
It's just not a part of the conversation. They all have to play in the same elements. They all got to play in the rain, in the snow, in the cold. I don't give a shit what the weather is. We're paying you to be the quarterback, and whether you're knocking rust off or not, that can never be an excuse.
Yeah, I would agree. And just to reiterate here, and go back to stats wise and what the ceiling is or isn't under Kevin Stefanski. We're talking about him potentially having Baker Mayfield numbers or whatever next year with a full year in this offense. I mean, you look at earlier this year, we've had Jacoby all season long, and he's played pretty well. But you know what? He capped right there.
Well, yeah, because I think the
and now you've got Deshaun in there, and even if he is knocking off rust right now, so far he's capped right there.
Well, and I think that's the thing. The linchpin of Kevin Stefanski's offense is I can't talk. It's the Finch is efficiency. And Jacoby was very efficient. He could command this offense efficiently. And that's basically all they're asking Deshaun to do right now is just to be efficient. Yep. And you can win games like that. Sure, they won on Sunday or Saturday. But I think Kevin Stefanski is a roofer. I think he puts the ceiling on.
He's really good at opening drives. If we just judged games on opening drives, the Browns would probably be undefeated this year. Past that,
he's the Super Bowl champion of scripted drives.
Yeah. Let's move on. We've spent enough time on this. It was supposed to be a discussion about Deshaun Watson, and it kind of turned into more Kevin Stefanski.
I just hate that man.
Yeah. Nick Chubb, 21 carries, 99 yards. Look at that, 20 carries. Checks notes. Yep, the Browns won. I don't know.
Seems pretty simple.
Not complicated, just like Kurt Warner said.
In case you were wondering, Stefanik, now there's 3 people in the studio that all say just give Nick Chubb 20 carries. It's pretty easy.
20 carries.
Kareem Hunt, 4 carries, 24 yards. I don't know.
I think that's been the note for the last 3 weeks is Kareem Hunt. I don't even know why. Just why is he in the game at this point?
Yeah, I have to put the numbers in there though, because he's kind of one of the bigger names on our offense, but we just don't do anything with him.
No, I mean the thing too at this point is that you have Dearness Johnson on your roster, you have Jerome Ford on your roster, and
Well, and I don't think Dearness Johnson, no offense to Dearness because he always de-earns it, but Dearness Johnson, while he's not Kareem Hunt, he can put up the same numbers that Kareem Hunt's putting up for us. So why do we have Kareem Hunt?
Right, either one of those guys is capable.
We'll say that. We both love Kareem Hunt. We think he brings a lot to the table, but the Browns, and specifically Stefanik over there with his...
Can't utilize him.
The offensive guru has no idea how to use him in our offense. So
I mean, here's the thing. If Kareem Hunt's going to get 4 carries a game, why not put Kareem on the field with Nick Chubb all the time? What the hell difference does it make?
Right. I mean, who do we have at slot receiver right now in every single play? It's a mix, right? So you're mixed between David
because you don't have a for sure solid number 3,
right? So why don't you mix Kareem Hunt in
put
there?
The next most dynamic player
in the slot every other play or whatever. I mean, it seems obvious to me. But
checks notes that could work.
Yeah, I don't know. Amari Cooper 4 catches for 58 yards. Looks like his relationship with Deshaun Watson is starting to take some small steps forward, which is good. And I think it's going to continue to grow. And I really expect this connection to kind of be hyped up in the offseason. I think the next 3 games, you'll see these small steps forward as we go. They might have one really explosive game together, maybe, if we're lucky or whatever. But I think going into next season, that's going to be all the talk is Deshaun Watson to Amari Cooper.
I think they might be in the market for another wide receiver.
Well, I mean,
like a premier wide receiver.
I hope so, because that's the thing, though, is with if they're not, so I guess we'll say that. If Amari Cooper's still our top guy next year, then that's going to be hyped up.
I like Amari. I just think if you had somebody else.
The thing, too, is now we have a potentially elite quarterback. So a guy that can get multiple people the ball.
Well, and outside of the holes on the offensive line, like your offense is pretty, like they're all coming back next year outside of Kareem.
It's all coming back to me now. Celine Dion? I don't know.
And so you don't have a lot of pieces to add on offense. So I could see them going after another premier wide receiver. But the wide receivers this week, meh. It's kind of like eating cold oatmeal.
Fine. Well, it was allegorical. Well, we won't hold that against you. That's for each man to decide for himself.
Yeah, so after that, DPJ, 4 catches, 31 yards, got another touchdown this week. He continues to come along. I like DPJ. I think you're mentioning, bolstering the receiving core, but if they don't, we've talked about this before, I'm not really too worried about it. If they do, great. If they don't, I think we'll be fine. DPJ has proven he's a pretty solid number 2 at this point.
Cold oatmeal.
Kenny's not excited about anything.
David, I like Amari. I like DPJ. David and Joe. Nobody did anything of note this game, so
that's true. I guess we'll move on. Offensive line gave up 3 sacks. They did pave the way for 143 yards rushing. They looked better than the last few weeks. Kenny, was anybody a turnstile this week though?
There's a guy on Twitter that is notorious for now just kind of like pointing out Jed Wills clips because
I've seen this. It's so funny. He's like, "What is he doing here?"
He's just always watching the play. He's bad, man. He's a turnstile for sure.
All right, so Jed Wills was once again a turnstile, but overall the line played a little bit better than they have of late.
Yeah,
a little bit better. I wouldn't say a lot.
I mean, they gave up 3 sacks, so and there was a few times that Deshaun had to use his feet to get out of trouble. So
fair. So that takes us to the defensive side of the ball. Myles Garrett, 1.5 sacks. This dude's really trying to rack him up now.
I mean, he's got limited time to get his name out there for Defensive Player of the Year. So, he to the point where he talked about it this week. I mean, he said he should absolutely be in that conversation. So
he's like, it doesn't matter that we suck. I'm really good. I should be considered.
I mean, you can't argue with that.
I agree. I think Myles Garrett absolutely should be considered. It just really hurts his case that some of the other guys, like the 49ers, are already clinched, for example.
Well, yeah.
Like, what do you?
Well, they do AFC.
I believe
NFC,
are they okay? Well, either way, it's just. I mean, there's the fact that the Browns aren't good.
Well, yeah, he's just not going to get the looks that some of his other guys.
Which I actually think is pretty ridiculous. I mean, it's supposed to be the best players on the field, not the best players on the best teams on the field.
Well, to be fair, though, there's people that have been questioning Miles' effort all year long, and like whether or not
we're actually one of them.
Whether or not he's elite or not. Like
I don't question whether or not he's elite.
I'm not even necessarily
I think he does take some plays off here.
I'm not even necessarily saying us. Like I think we both like Miles and want him to be a Brown and think he's the bee's knees. But I've heard
pajamas.
But I've heard a lot of conversations elsewhere that like, is this guy even worth what we're paying him? Is this guy
which I don't understand, because if you look at like we bring in statistics here every once in a while, not like Stefanik does, but we bring in statistics every once in a while here, and PFF consistently grades Myles Garrett as like top 3 every single week.
Well, yeah, it's because the Browns aren't good. If the Browns were 11-3 right now or whatever they were, people would be like, Myles Garrett is elite.
They'd be like, he's the bee's knees.
He's the bee's knees,
the cat's
baby.
pajamas. All right, so moving on. Deion Jones, he had a sack this week, and Perion Winfrey, 2 tackles and a half sack.
He got that old dirty half sack.
Yeah.
No, look, I'm actually I'm glad that Perion's getting a little bit more playing time.
I just hope he keeps his head in the playbook.
He didn't blow up the stat sheet, but if you watched him on Saturday, he actually had a pretty good game. So it was encouraging to see Perion actually kind of moving in the right direction, because he's had such a tumultuous
Like I said,
season.
keep your head in the playbook and do what you're supposed to do so that we don't have to bench you.
Yeah. Sealy?
Piece of candy.
Ooh, piece of candy. Who gave him a piece of candy?
I thought he was going to say...
Is that the new staple for Big Seal? Is he just gives people a piece of candy when they do well?
I thought he was going to tell him to get in his playbook. He says, piece of candy.
Yeah, got to get in that playbook, bro. Come on.
All right, so John Johnson got a fumble recovery in this one. And Denzel Ward, he had a pick, but we'll talk about him again here soon. And then the rest of the secondary looked pretty good, but they did play Tyler Huntley. So, it was and Baltimore has no wide receivers.
It was like saying that the Browns defense played well against Houston. Like, hey, you better play well against Houston. Although I guess Kansas City almost gave it up this week.
Good job, buddy. So let's get into the special teams. We're gonna talk here.
We are.
Yeah, because I got some things to say. Cade York, he went 2 of 4 this week. 1 of 1 on extra points. He did have another awful shank. It was just terrible, which is pretty funny. They asked him about it, and he's like, yeah, I mean, no matter what answer I give you guys this week, it's not going to matter because I missed it. So I got nothing to say about that.
Well, and just before we jump to the rest, what worries me about Cade York is the shank, because you see missed kicks on a pretty regular basis in the NFL. Cade is just yipping them
twice. Well, I think what's going on is I think we mentioned it one of the previous couple shows here is that it had been pointed out on a broadcast that his plant leg is pointing way far right on a lot of his
doesn't have
misses.
a coach, though.
Right. He watched the broadcast and then said, oh, it is. I should probably work on that. But no, I think what you're seeing with those shanks have both been left, and I think it's almost like an overcorrection thing where he tried harder to like get square and do what he needed to do, and then bad things happen.
I mean, I just think he's young. I mean,
there's that too. So that's where the discussion part of this comes in. So overall, I think the Cade York confidence meter in Cleveland right now is pretty low, but I still think he's fine. I think everybody needs to calm down. Did you have something there, Big Seal?
Bring in the GOAT, Phil Dawson, baby.
You want to bring Phil back?
No, not as a kicker, as a mentor.
As a mentor?
Special teams coordinator, baby.
That makes more sense.
I don't mind that idea. I didn't know where you were going with that. I was like, he's like 70 now.
Oh, no. You got to let me finish, you know what I'm saying?
All right. Well, which actually is a good segue into what I'm getting ready to say here is I still think Cade York is fine. And let's do a quick kicker comparison, right? Name me the Browns rookie that hit 66.7% of their field goals, had a long of 49, and missed an extra point. That would be Phil Dawson. And compare that to Cade York, who has hit 7 after adding in this game, which he was 2 of 4 in. He has hit 70.5% of his field goals. He had a long of 58, and he's missed 2 extra points. And don't forget, extra points are from 33 now instead of 20, like they were for Phil. So, the current fan base and all these people that are talking about, get rid of him, why do we draft him? Like, they would have ran Phil Dawson out of town. And Phil Dawson is one of the most beloved Browns players of all time.
Yeah, look, I agree 100%. I think Cade is young. I know he comes in with a lot of expectations because we used a draft pick on him. But the guy
I'm not saying he is this, but if he turns out to be anywhere close to Justin Tucker in the next 5 years, you're going to be like, well, I guess that was pretty good.
I just think we almost have unrealistic expectations of kickers, right? Like that's the old adage, like you have one job, like kick the ball. But it's a really hard job.
Yeah.
And I think
Especially thinking about playing in Cleveland, it's super windy, the wind swirls, it's cold.
Well, yeah,
and that's what I think fans really don't understand, the fact that when it's cold like that, the ball becomes like a rock.
Well, yeah, it doesn't fly as far, and when it's blustery like that on the lakeshore, it's difficult to kick. I don't have an excuse for the shanks because that's just weird, but
they have been weird. It's odd that it's happened more than once.
But I think he's young. He's going to get stronger. He's going to get smarter. Hopefully, we have a coach besides Prefer that he can work with to continue to enhance his accuracy and his consistency. But man, we're just so quick to just run out these kickers, and it's funny because I think about all the kickers that have been on bad Browns teams in the last few years.
We've had some solid kickers.
Guys like Cody Parkey, guys like Greg Joseph, and you watch NFL football games.
I was wondering, Greg Joseph just hit a game winner this week.
Well, I was going to say, you watch other NFL football games during the weekend, like these guys pop up all over because kickers
and they don't just pop up; they play well for other teams.
It's just such a fickle position, and we just want to run these guys out of town as soon as they miss a kick.
Yeah, I think we're trigger happy on kickers, and I really think that was the main discussion I wanted to get into here. Is everybody needs to calm down on Cade York, regardless of what how bad, I'm doing air quotes, you can't see it, but how bad you think he's playing right now? He's not.
Well, and I just think the kicker at this point in the NFL has become a commodity, right? So it's
there's at any given point there's like 30 kickers out there in free agency. So
yeah, so every team has to have one, and they're going to be good for a couple kicks a game, but like in most cases, in most games, win or loss shouldn't depend on whether or not your kicker is
that's
good.
The thing is that's why it's so amplified, and I think it's wrong that it's amplified like it is. But 9 times out of 10, if the game's coming down to one player,
well, true,
it's usually the kicker. It's as much as people want to say it's the quarterback or it's this or it's that. Kicker can win or lose you a game pretty quick, and I think because of that, everything that they do is just magnified.
But like what I mean by that is like you look at a guy like what's your guy Seals Goggles, like was his name Rigoberto? Like he had a great rookie season. He hit game winners, and then like the next season they're like, see ya. Like he missed a couple
or
of
whatever
kicks.
his name is out of
no, wasn't it Rigoberto?
Sanchez? I can't. Was it? No.
Let's just call him Goggles.
The guy with the goggles.
Here, put him up here.
That's what we call him, is Goggles.
There he is.
Anyway, but like I'm just saying what I mean by a commodity is like every team has it, and whether you have a good kicker or a bad kicker, a bad kicker can still kick a game winner sometime during the season,
right? And
a good kicker can still miss one,
right?
And
the
bottom line is if Stefanski could call plays, we wouldn't care about who the kicker was,
right? Yeah, if we were to your point earlier, Myles Garrett, Defensive Player of the Year, those types of things. If we were 10-3 right now, everybody would be like, "Oh, Cade York's doing fantastic."
Yeah, and I think the only differentiator in kickers at this point is the fact that Cade York can kick it from 70. Stefanski won't let him, but he can.
Oh yeah. Don't forget too that our initial win, we're up to 6 wins now. One of those is directly tied to Cade York's foot. So,
well, yeah, there's my point, I guess, to put a bow on this is just that the spectrum, the range between the best kicker in the NFL and the worst kicker in the NFL is just not all that wide. And you probably would say like Justin Tucker is the best kicker in the NFL.
He's such an anomaly. Like he's up here and everybody else is down. It's not like he's here and then the last guy's down here. It's like he's here and literally everybody else is down here with the last guy.
Yeah, and I think that's a pretty common belief with
everybody
NFL players right now. Is like you would put, if you had to rate kickers, Justin Tucker's probably top of that list, right?
Yep.
Justin Tucker missed 2 field goals this week. Like, are we going to fire him next week?
We should.
I think Harrison Butker's missed some too. You know, he's been
good old Butker. He's got a good name.
I like it.
Rodrigo Blankenship was the name.
There it is. That's the guy.
Yeah.
Goggles. Like
Goggles.
I said,
Goggles.
But yeah, so I'll move on. I'll move on from Cade York. I just wanted to let everybody know they need to relax with Cade York. Cade York is just fine. Give him some time. Quit trying to call for his job. It's just ridiculous.
He's a kicker.
Yeah. I did want to put Bajorquez in here again, by the way. Averaged Last week he averaged 51.5.
Your favorite segment now is covering the punter every week.
This guy, every week, I think he can't get any better. Last week he averaged 51.5 and his long was 65 yards. This week he averaged 51.7 and his long was 70. The dude's just an impressive punter. And he's kicking in Cleveland, where, again, we were just talking about the wind swirl. Things get squirrely out there, and he's just like, I'm still going to just coffin corner this one.
And he's got a crazy beard right now.
Yeah, big fan.
Big fan. Ronnie loves the punter.
So overall, we got the Browns. For total yards, we got the Browns at 283, the Ravens at 324. Time of possession, Browns 33:08, Ravens 26:52. The Browns look decent in this one, but unfortunately, it's too late. And it seems like we do this every year, I would say. We get eliminated, and then we win out, and we're like, we only missed the playoffs by a game. But like we said last week, the rest of the season's kind of about the progression of Deshaun Watson. And so far, I would say in his first 3 games with the Browns, he's progressed nicely. He's taken steps forward every week. But I want to see at least one big game before the season ends, just so that we could see the glimpse of what we have to look forward to.
I don't think you're going to get it.
Yeah, I don't know if we will either, especially with Kevin Stefanski calling plays.
He just won't call a game like that.
But I'm hoping we get at least one. So other Browns notes here, white face masks were super dope.
They were fire. Super crisp, super clean.
Yeah, I think white face mask, that we should just go back to that. That should be permanent face mask.
They actually just look the best with their jerseys now.
Yeah, like I actually really like the brown face masks, but the white ones look so much better.
Like the Browns face mask should be the ultimate face mask.
Yeah. What'd you think, Sealy?
Yeah, they're pretty dope, but, we're not making the playoffs, so
He's still hung up on why did they roll out the white face mask when we're not in the playoff?
I mean, like I said, they're dope, but, I'd rather win football games, you know what I mean?
I think we all
than the
would.
color of my face mask.
I think we all would like to win football games.
I just want him to bring an orange jersey back.
And then I had J.R. Smith in here. He smashed the guitar this week. He came in and took his shirt off like it was the Cavs championship.
Shirtless.
You remember when those guys made that T-shirt of just like his tattoos? Like it was just like that was the T-shirt. It looked like he had no shirt on. And it was just all JR's tattoos.
I got to get one of those.
Yeah, me too. But that's it for this.
Did you see the AV guys were at it again with Myles Garrett?
What'd they do?
On the TV, they put Nick Chubb's picture up for Myles Garrett to show that he's the overall sack leader for the Cleveland Browns.
They have trouble with the
Nick
broadcast sometimes.
Chubb, the overall sack leader for the Browns.
He does it all, man. He's one of the league rushing leaders, and he's the sack leader for the Browns.
We also mentioned the bee's knees a couple times during that segment. Do you know that bees actually do have knees, and they carry pollen around in them?
That's cool. All right, that'll lead to the Burning River Sportscast Dog of the Week. All right, so this week,
I feel like you don't give my facts enough credence. You just kind of, I threw
it in at the most random.
I blow your mind on a weekly basis, and you're just like, that's cool.
That's because your facts section of the show comes in at the end. You just randomly threw me one in the middle.
Well, I can drop facts any time of the day.
I guess so. Should I start this segment over since
No.
The Burning River Sportscast Dog of the Week is Denzel Ward this week. He had 2 pass breakups, 1 interception, 3 tackles. And besides the Bengals game, which we won't talk about, he's been playing really well lately to close out the season. The defense has improved overall. Secondary looks a lot better, and I think he's a big part of that. So.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about just being concerned about him coming back from injury and how he was going to play, and he really has stepped up and played pretty well since coming back.
I mentioned the Bengals game and him having a rough game, but it was Jamar Chase. I mean, you can't really. What are you going to do?
Yeah, well, and we give Deshaun room for rust. Denzel, I guess, gets some too. But I think what Denzel brings you on the field is breakout plays like the one he had on Saturday, because this team has struggled mightily with turning the ball over this year. And Denzel's one of the few guys on the team that can make it happen at any time. And I think you saw that. This is
another reason for Joe Woods to be fired, by the way. We just don't generate turnovers at all, period.
Well, no.
Like, what are we, negative 100 in differential?
We're negative a lot in the differential. Yeah. Like, we're one of the worst in the league.
Not good. But this is supposed to be a happy time talking about
we like Denzel.
The Burning River Sportscast Dog of the Week. So good job, Denzel Ward. Appreciate it.
Ooh, ooh.
Yeah. Who? Seal, you want to bark?
Woof.
Seals. Big seal.
Woof. Oh, oh.
All right. Good job. Take us to
Was that you? Or
That was him. That'll take us to the division roundup.
it wasn't. It was you. It was?
No, that was definitely me, dog.
Oh.
That'll take us to the division roundup. All right, the Pittsburgh Steelers defeated the Carolina Panthers this week, 24-16. Both teams are trash, but Carolina is trashier. And I picked that one right, and Kenny picked it wrong.
Here we go.
Kenny loves this part of the show. He's just so good at picking
You've
games.
picked Pittsburgh back-to-back for like the last 4 weeks, and they just win every week.
You're welcome.
They're the worst team.
They've actually, we'll get to that. They've won 5 of 6 right now, I think.
They're absolute ass. but-
Cincinnati defeated the GOAT and the Bucks all in one game. 34-23. Kenny actually texted me early in this game, and he said, the Bucks are up 17-0. Looks like I'm going to get one from you. Nope, you got screwed again.
I was on the phone with you when they scored their last touchdown. I was like, oh, there goes another one. You're still losing.
Sorry about it.
They
lost.
I turned the game off at that point. And later, my mom had texted me, and she was like, wow, Cincinnati's really bad. And then apparently something happened at halftime, and
Their team made adjustments. I know we don't know what that looks like in Cleveland, but their team made adjustments, and then they won.
I guess so. I don't know. I mean,
Bottom line is, I picked it right, you picked it wrong.
apparently, look, I think it's time probably to give Cincinnati their due credit. I've been on the fence about them all year about whether or not
they're pretty solid.
They're any good, and they've put in some pretty solid performances of late, and much like last year, are creating momentum.
It feels eerily similar to last year's.
Just at the right time.
Yeah. Did you see that before the game?
Baker Mayfield just got strip sacked.
That sounds about right. Did you see before the game, earlier in the week, Tom Brady went on a podcast. It wasn't our podcast, you son of a bitch. But he went on a podcast, and he said, yeah, I mean, Cincinnati's defense is fairly tough. And so the defense after the game, everybody, that's all their guys would talk about in interviews, is how they were disrespected by Tom Brady, and they wanted to let him know how tough they were.
They pulled the Browns as the Browns on them.
Yep. So, but again, I was right. You were wrong.
Thank you.
The Browns game added in. We both picked that right, by the way. We both picked the Browns against the Ravens. So I went 3-0 this week, and Kenny went 1-2. But we'll come back to that.
Such bullshit.
For now, let's take a trip around the NFL. All right, so far, these teams have clinched playoff spots. In the NFC, we've got the Eagles, Vikings, 49ers, and Cowboys. And in the AFC, we have the Bills and the Chiefs. I'm sure we'll have more to add to that next week, but for now, that's where we're at. So let's start with the Lions over here. They're in the hunt after a huge comeback win over the Jets that kept their hopes alive. And they have won 6 of 7 right now. 6 of 7.
It's an impressive stretch. Look, we've talked about him before. Is that this team right now is playing for Dan Campbell?
Yeah.
What did they start? 1-6.
Yeah, they started bad,
and this is a team that is together in the locker room and is playing for pride and for each other and for their head coach.
It's a beautiful thing, Stefanik. I wish you could get your team to do it.
They've been on quite a run.
Yep,
I don't know that they'll make the playoffs even, but it's been impressive to watch.
Another comeback out there this week. Trevor Lawrence continued his fine play and brought the Jags back after it looked like they would be blown out against the Cowboys. Started to run away with it early, but the Jags came back and won it 40-34 in overtime.
Are we really going to have to watch an NFL where Trevor Lawrence is good in it?
I hope not. But anyways, Trevor Lawrence did, like I said, he did play well again. 27 of 42, 318 yards, 4 touchdowns to 1 interception.
Yeah, he's thrown 14 touchdowns and 1 pick in the last 5 weeks.
And over 3,000 yards, if I'm not mistaken, or right around 3,000 yards. It's like,
well, no, I'm just saying in the last 5 weeks.
Oh, in the last.
I was going to say that's a lot of yards.
It's in the last 9 weeks that he has close to that much. But anyway, go on.
Yeah, well, in that same stretch, it's he's thrown for 1,600 yards. So it's still impressive.
So 2,000. Maybe I was just getting my numbers mixed up. But anyways, the Fighting Jeff Saturdays, speaking of comebacks.
What a game.
The Fighting Jeff Saturdays got out to a 33-0 lead on the Vikings, who have been playing very well this year. But the Vikings came roaring back and stunned them 39-36 in overtime. It's the largest comeback in NFL history. And I think we all need to monitor Matty Ice this week. Because
check on Matty Ice. He's not doing okay.
The dude's life is in shambles right now. And he just can't get away from these huge comeback losses. 28-3 in the Super Bowl is what they were up, and now this. So he owns the wrong end of the record for biggest comeback in Super Bowl history and biggest comeback in NFL history.
But you saw what happened to Matt Ryan, right?
Oh, the meme? Well, it wasn't a meme. I mean, it actually happened. Let's throw it up here real quick.
Yeah, this is what happened, and this is why they lost the game, because you don't come back from that.
No, I mean, if you pizza when you're supposed to French fry.
I mean, how many double entendres can you make?
I don't know. What do you got?
I heard Ryan's bottom was impacted.
His bottom line?
Oil level's fine. Good for another 3,000 miles. He should have been a tight end. That wouldn't have happened. I've heard of players hitting the open hole, but this is ridiculous. He might have had a rough day, but this made his whole week. He was going for the super bowel. I heard the Vikings were in a hole early, but this takes it to a whole new level. They told him to dig deep, and he took it literally. Roughing the gasser, 15 yards. Refs missed another one, goosing the quarterback. I think he misunderstood the assignment when he was told to contain number 2. The old hook and ladder. And when in doubt, break the shocker out.
This is by far the most ridiculous segment we've ever had on this show. But, I mean, a picture's worth 1,000 words, or at least 5 fingers. But anyways.
Rough day for Matty Ryan.
Oh, man. And, there's all these comebacks, and a couple of them were won in overtime. Speaking of overtime, it took the Chiefs overtime to beat the Texans this week. I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if it's the Chiefs have played sloppy the last 2 weeks, because who they have was it Jacksonville, and they were in a similar position where they were they up 27-0, and then Jacksonville came back in that game, and then they won at the end of the game. But that's
I don't know the scenario. I just know that like, how does it take the Chiefs?
Yeah, it's 2 weeks in a row they've played really
Texans.
sloppy football. I guess they don't care because they've clinched, but
Matty Ice clinched.
But I don't. I guess they don't care, but I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. You got me all off track with Matty Ice's butthole.
The Packers released Sammy Watkins before Monday Night Football, which was kind of a surprise, especially with the Packers don't have a ton of receivers, so I don't know. But
oh, how the mighty have fallen.
I know. Now let's get into some QB talk here. The NFC West starting QBs entering Week 15. Let me just run these off for you real quick. The 49ers were with Brock Purdy. The Cardinals were with Colt McCoy. The Seahawks were with Geno Smith, and the Rams were with Baker Mayfield. Just Hall of Famers.
What a crew.
Yeah.
It's night and day from the way this year started in that
who are the
division.
starters there? So the 49ers had
Trey Lance,
and then Jimmy Garoppolo. The Cardinals had Kyler Murray. The Seahawks, Geno Smith's been their starter all year long, and he's surprised everybody. And the Rams started with Matt Stafford, but this is what we're down to.
That's what we're down to.
But I guess speaking of Baker Mayfield, other than his strip sack that he just suffered on Monday Night Football as we're recording, he got slimed this week on Nickelodeon because he was the MVP after bringing the Rams back in last week's in last week's Thursday Night Football game. So that was pretty funny. You got a picture of that?
I do.
Nice. We'll put that up there. More quarterback talk. Russell Wilson sat this week, and the Broncos promptly picked up a win. So it's, I mean,
Look, they're in trouble in Denver. I don't know what they're going to do.
Could be a lot of changes this offseason.
Man, it's been a wild year.
How much dead money would that be if they just got rid of Russell Wilson? It's got to be so much.
It's a lot.
We're going to talk about dead money in a minute.
Oh, nice.
But man, they are in trouble out there. I don't know what they're going to do. It's hard to believe that overnight he turned into a pumpkin, but clearly he's a jack-o'-lantern.
Oh man, Justin Fields went over 1,000 yards this week, and he's only.
That's not very many passing yards for a quarterback.
No, 1,000 rushing yards.
Oh,
1,000 rushing yards.
That's pretty good then.
He's only the third quarterback in history to do that. The other two, Lamar Jackson and Michael Vick. So
good company.
Mike White went to 10 different doctors this week to try and get cleared for the Jets game.
That dude got absolutely destroyed.
He was ready to go. He's like, I don't care what you say. I promise I'll live.
He still wanted to play.
Speaking of which, though, Saleh defended Zach Wilson this week as everybody was kind of talking him down heading into the game. And he told the reporters, he said, look, we're in an instant coffee era in football. And he said that it's just bad for quarterbacks and people need to give these players time, which we kind of touched on that with the kicker. It's the same thing with quarterbacks. Quarterbacks are the same deal. They don't pan out in a year or so and people want to run them out of town.
Well, no, I mean, look at
the internet.
So much of it is about fit and who you're with because just like Geno Smith this year. I mean, he was just in bad situations in New York and, man, he looks like a totally different guy in Seattle.
Right. And then after that, that's going to lead us to the New England game. Wild finish in New England this week. The Patriots tried the old hook and ladder, or just lateral all over the field to try and win it.
What was that?
And it just completely backfired. The last lateral that they threw was picked by a Raider. I forget who it was, but he took it to the house after stiff arming Mac Jones to the ground, and the Raiders walked it off.
The game was tied.
Yeah, it was tight. I don't know. Well, and that's what's funny. So I had in here, you don't usually see that from a Bill Belichick team, right? Well, after the game, the players were quick to say, that was completely improvised. Nobody told us to do that.
No joke.
Yeah, bad idea. You'd rather just give the game up than take your chances in overtime?
What was weird to me was that Ramondre Stevenson had some room.
Oh, yeah. And he also had a really good game up until that point, and then he did that.
Well, he didn't throw the ball into the danger, but he lateraled it the first time, and I don't understand why.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, they had a better chance of him scoring on that play than whatever the hell that was.
I don't know what that was.
Jacoby Myers just threw it.
It was just wild. Well, the worst, it was. That's what I was gonna say. It was directly to him. It was like he's like, "Oh, look at what I found," and then he just turned around, ran over Mac Jones, and went to the end zone.
Like, there's no way that guy woke up.
By the way, that stiff arm to the ground was vicious. Like Mac Jones is like grasping, trying to get him down, and he just like kills him.
It was 100% for fun.
Yeah, it was like, I know you're not tackling.
He didn't even have to do it. Mac Jones wasn't tackling him.
Oh yeah,
but that guy did not wake up this weekend and think, they're going to throw the ball to me on the last play, and I'm going to return it for a touchdown.
Why would you? Speaking of the Raiders, though, not sure. I think we might have already talked about this in one of our past episodes, but just keeping with the holiday spirit, since this is going to air right before Christmas, why does Derek Carr continually look more and more like Marv from Home Alone? Do you have that up here? Let's put it up here, because he literally looks exactly like him.
Which one of them wears more eyeliner?
Oh, definitely Derek Carr. Definitely. These guys are done for the season. Colts running back Jonathan Taylor has a high ankle sprain. Done.
It's rough.
Jags left tackle Cam Robinson has a meniscus issue. Done. Falcons running back Caleb Huntley, who nobody knew who he was at the beginning of the year, but has come on and played pretty well in relief.
Still don't know.
True. But he tore his Achilles, so he's done for this year and potentially for a good chunk of next year. You tear an Achilles, that's never good.
Want the Achilles, yeah. That's the old Achilles heel.
I get it. I see what you did there. Yeah. A couple more things here. The NFL executives sent a memo to league owners this week to let them know that they've spent over $800 million on fired coaches and front office execs over the last 5 years. And supposedly the Browns were the only team that were actually named in that memo.
Well, we've done a lot of that.
Yeah. No, I jest, but that's a lot of money on fired coaches.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about that, that's just a mind-numbing number.
Well, and since they sent that memo out, that ties back to what I said earlier in the year when the Raiders can't fire Josh McDaniels because they're cash poor. Like, this is why.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's that time of the season, right, where the bad teams are taking inventory of what they have, where their coaches are, what their plan is for the next 3 to 5 years, and
except for the Raiders,
a lot of them don't like what they see. But when you think about the fact that this instant coffee era of football has coaches turning over like turnovers.
Speaking, you mentioned instant coffee again, and Robert Saleh. I got my note in the mail the other day. Sent the receipt to
the
us.
Receipt.
Yeah.
Are we just having is this just a brunch conversation now? It's instant coffee and turnovers?
Yeah. Finally, the death of Adam Zimmer was the cause of his death was revealed, and it's chronic alcohol use. So I just wanted to throw in here that addiction is no joke. It affects everybody. So if you or a loved one suffer from addiction, then make sure you call the addiction hotline. Get some help.
Good call out.
We want to see you and your family on a better track.
Especially this time of year. It's, holidays are not always happy for everyone. They can be really difficult for some people, and addiction's one of those that plays a big part in holiday blues. So
get some help. We want you still here. So that's it for our Week 15 coverage. Let's go ahead and take a revenue break, and then we'll get into Week 16.
I don't know if I want you here.
That's not very nice.
Not like to die, but just you're not here.
Towpath Distillery, the newest craft distillery in Northeast Ohio. Located in Akron and family-owned. Towpath Distillery focuses on high-quality spirits carefully made in small batches. Towpath's lineup includes an ultra-smooth, award-winning premium vodka, small batch silver rum made from the highest-grade molasses, an American craft gin made with 9 botanicals, and a blended straight bourbon made from corn and rye. Towpath Distillery. Visit towpath-distillery.com to find an agency near you where the spirits are available, and make sure to ask your local bartender and restaurateur. Towpath Distillery, handcrafted, small batch, local, and family-owned. Towpath Distillery. Get some.
Get some. I was thinking maybe whoever loses the King of the North for the year maybe should have to go to the merchant and have to eat a bunch of delicious food.
Are you saying this because I'm pretty sure I've clinched at this point, and you can't win, so you're just saying this so that you have to go eat a bunch of delicious food?
Or like, what if
can the winner join?
Can they make me like a 1 pound hamburger or something, and I have to eat it all?
How about we go to the merchant and the loser has to pay for the other one's dinner?
That's not even a good one. I was thinking,
I just want the merchant.
What if I had to drink this whole bottle of rum?
Now we're talking.
Just in one sitting.
Now we're talking.
Straight alcohol poisoning.
I don't think. Drink responsibly. All right, let's go ahead and get into the Week 16 preview here. All right, so we've got the Saints this week. It's the final home game of the year.
Is it really the final home game?
Yeah.
Dang.
Last 2 games are away games. So, I'm going to be looking for, can Deshaun Watson put on a show for the home crowd? I'm hoping he can. The conditions aren't going to be in his favor, but I'm hoping he can. But before, or as we get into this preview here, do you have any opposition research for us?
Well, I was just going to say, in regard to can Deshaun put on a show, he went straight to social media after the win Saturday and basically said that like he was coming, like show's coming. He was pretty excited.
He's feeling it.
He was feeling it.
I think he forgot to check the forecast for this week.
Yeah, we have there's is it Elliott? Is that what they're calling?
Yeah, there's a big snowstorm coming.
There's a tropical storm of snow coming.
Yeah, there's a snowstorm coming. It's not. I mean, we're not talking like Buffalo level snowstorm, but it's going to be a snowstorm. And the worst part about it is it's bringing frigid, like super cold temperatures.
Oh yeah,
which we'll get into in a minute as we talk about this game. But it's not going to be in his favor.
It's going to be a cold ass Christmas.
Yeah. So, do you get any opposition research for us, or you want me to just jump into the position matchups?
Look, here's the thing: the Saints are 5-9.
Yep.
but somehow they're still in the thick of their.
You're stealing all of my points from later, but go on.
This is my opposition research.
Oh, good job, buddy.
They're 5-9, and they're still somehow in the thick of their own divisional playoff race. So,
how do they have a worse record than us and they're still in the playoff hunt? It just doesn't even make sense.
Well, I can tell you why they have a worse record than us, because their quarterback is the Red Rocket.
Oh, man.
But look, I was looking over their roster, and I lost it here now, so that's good.
I think we lost it.
But it's actually a little bit surprising that they've had such difficulty this year, because it's not like they got a bunch of bums. The quarterback situation confounds me a bit, because I don't know why Jameis didn't get a chance to play.
He played early and then he was injured, and they just basically said, all right, we're moving on from you, which I don't understand why, because Jameis Winston has proven throughout his career, like, yeah, he's going to throw picks because he takes a lot of chances, but that dude puts up yards.
Oh, yeah.
Like, why would you not continue to play him? He's got to be better than the Red Rocket.
I mean, he'll throw 20 interceptions, but he can throw 30 touchdowns.
Right.
I mean, Andy Dalton has been
one time he threw 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions.
Andy Dalton has been nothing but uninspiring all season long.
That's his MO, man. He's just uninspiring. He's the Red Rocket.
Taysom Hill is amazing.
He's not really a quarterback.
But he's made a living somehow in the NFL now as a hybrid
tight end.
Quarterback, tight end, kick return specialist guy.
He's what I like to call a jack of all trades, master of none.
He's a jackhammer.
Taysom Hill, the jackhammer, coming for you.
Anyway, just in general, their roster. I mean, you got guys like Alvin Kamara out there. Some of these guys Chris Olave's had a good rookie campaign.
You are totally ruining this segment.
Well, I'm just saying, my point is that they have good players on this defense.
My point is, I've got no point.
I mean, you got Cam Jordan, you got the Honey Badger out there, you got Bradley Roby.
Honey Badger don't care. Honey Badger don't give a shit.
You've got some guys that have had success in the NFL. It's actually a little bit hard to believe that they're so bad.
Fair. So we'll get into the position matchups now. The ones that I have pointed out here is the Browns front seven versus the Saints rushing attack. And this isn't because the Saints rushing attack has been fantastic this year. It's because they have Alvin Kamara. And the Browns are trash against the run.
So bad.
The Saints actually are a pretty bad rushing team this year overall. But those this season have been the teams that the Browns have struggled to stop the run against the most. So that's why I highlighted that, because for some reason, when we play bad rushing teams, we play terribly against the rush.
True.
So we need to watch that. Another one I have here is the Browns secondary versus the Red Rocket. I'm not going to lie to you. Most of the reason I put this in here is because I just wanted to call him the Red Rocket. He has seen the Browns a lot in his career. He's played a lot in First Energy Stadium. I don't really care. He's not good. I just wanted to call him the Red Rocket. So, dude's the Red Rocket.
Speaking of just their rushing game not being great, I think Alvin Kamara's only got like 650
He was hurt for a portion of the season, if I'm not
season.
mistaken.
Yeah, I don't think he's played all year, but still.
Big Seal. Alvin Kamara hurt for part of the season?
I do believe so.
Thank you.
Either way.
And then finally here, I got Deshaun versus the weather. You touched on it a little bit earlier. I know everyone's going to be dealing with the weather, but there were rumors before the Browns called him and guaranteed $230 million that he didn't want to play for a cold weather team. He wanted to be somewhere where it was warm. So just want to see how he's going to handle the frigid temperatures. Last week, this past Saturday was kind of cold, but this one's going to be cold. There's a low of 4 degrees, and it's supposed to be windy coming off the lake, so the wind chill is probably going to be in the negative teens to negative 20s, maybe even lower. It's going to be real interesting to see how he holds up in that.
I don't know, and I don't care.
All right.
Look, he's got 230 million reasons why he shouldn't give a shit about the weather.
I agree with you. So, as a team, the Saints, you mentioned it, 5-9 record. They play in the worst division in football, at least this season. So they are very much in the playoff hunt with that 5-9 record. The Bucs and Panthers both lost this week, which kept the door open. But let's be honest here, this is not a good football team. But since they are in the hunt, they're going to be playing hard, and the Browns are still going to have to bring it, unfortunately, because they're playing for their playoff hopes, and we're not really. I mean, technically we are, but we're not.
Well, and the thing about this Saints team that makes them dangerous is because, like I outlined earlier when I was stealing all your thunder, because I'm Thunder,
You are Thunder.
Was they have good players on this team, so they can sneak into a win.
Yeah, I agree.
They can surprise you.
Well, and to that point, the Browns will get a look at one of the front runners for Rookie of the Year, which is Chris Olave. And we'll get to see our old pal Jarvis Landry across the field. So
that'll
be nice.
Jarvis, that guy.
Yeah. So let's get into the injury report.
Do you know how many catches Jarvis had last week?
You ruined your own sounder.
Do you know how many catches Jarvis had last week?
Probably 0.
You know how many yards he caught for?
If he had 0 catches, he caught for 0 yards. So I said we'll get to see him. Like we can wave to him.
Wave.
Yeah. Anyways, let's get into the injury report for this one. Kenny, on the Cleveland side of things, do we have any new additions?
Yeah, a couple of guys this week.
We got some dinged up guys.
So I'll lead off with David Bell. He still has a
devastating loss.
Busted toe. The Venus flytrap
didn't play last week. Hopefully he comes back.
Is no more.
You shut your mouth. The Venus flytrap will be back and stronger than ever.
JJ3, John Johnson, he's got a dinged up thigh.
But he played last week, so I mean,
chicken thigh. Well, he came out of that game.
Did he finish the game or did he?
No, he came out. He was done. Yeah, so
feels bad.
So it's possible he may.
Nobody rushes back from injuries anymore either because they don't. It doesn't matter.
Well, and he's a guy that's like halfway quit on this team all season long. So
I don't know. His last 3 games, he's played really well. So, but anyways,
he can suck a fatty.
John Johnson, you heard it here. Kenny Thunder wants you to suck a fatty.
And then to round out Brown's new additions to the injury report, Jadeveon Clowney got his dome rocked. So he is in the
again. I don't think that means what you think it means, but I digress.
He's in the concussion protocol to see if they can unrock his dome.
Feels bad. Anybody for New Orleans?
On the New Orleans side, a lot of their injuries weren't listed, but these guys are listed today as out. Marshawn Lattimore, so that's a big loss for them. PJ Williams, Peyton Turner. So that's 3 guys on their defense. 2 of those guys defensive backs. They're pretty thin there. And then Dwayne Washington is a running back. I don't know who he does or what he does, but he's injured, so that's good.
How about Mr. Washington?
Mr.
Washington.
Couple notables though, just on IR, just for those that haven't been following the Aints all season. Michael Thomas still can't get on the field.
Dude, what is the deal with that guy?
I don't know. I mean, he went
from the best receiver in football to I don't know if it's he's kind of injured and he just doesn't want to play for the Saints anymore or what it is, but it's been odd all season long.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
Big Seals. What do you think about Michael Thomas?
Slant God.
What did you just say? A profanity? What did you just say?
Nah, that's what his nickname is. Slant God.
Slant
Yes,
God.
That sounds blasphemous.
All right, the slant God.
He gets mad about it. If you guys follow him on Twitter, he gets all fired up.
He doesn't want to be the slant God?
I mean, they say that's all he can do.
People were calling him a god, and he's over here wanting to be one of the sorry people.
He can't even play.
Feels bad.
I'd rather be the god of playing something than playing nothing.
Yeah, it seems. Anyways, odd situation.
Other notables on IR, Mark Ingram. We talked about Alvin Kamara being injured a bit, so Mark Ingram got some work this year, but he is done for the year. And then Smoke Monday.
Dude's name is Smoke Monday?
I don't even know what this guy does, but what a dope-ass name. Apparently, he tore a CL.
Smoke's name is Fire.
he tore a CL a while ago.
Ah, dang.
So he's not notable anyway.
Did you say his name was Smoke Monday?
Yes.
Dang, man.
It's the greatest name in the history of names.
Smoke Monday. That's almost... Wow.
So, yeah.
I just got lightheaded. I was laughing so hard at Smoke Monday. I'm so turned up about Smoke Monday, I think I'm having a stroke.
Do you know anything about Smoke?
A stroke for smoke.
I mean, I think I saw his name way early on in the year, but no idea who he is, what he does.
Does that do anything for you?
He went out with a torn CL a while ago.
Feels bad. All right, so that brings us to our player to watch. Kenny, who is your player to watch in this one?
You go first.
All right, mine's going to be Deshaun Watson again. Third game in a row. I know it's redundant, but it's the last game in First Energy Stadium this season. I'm hoping, as I mentioned before, that he puts on a show. I'm not real hopeful of it just because of the conditions we're going to be playing in. But like you said, he brought it. He brought it on social media, and he said he's coming for everybody. So I'm hoping that he brings that same energy to the game, and he can do some big things. So we'll see. What are your thoughts? I also, with the weather, it's actually a good thing to get a glimpse of how he's going to handle the weather, because say we do, he returns to his elite form. That means we're probably hosting a playoff game, so we're going to need to know how he's doing.
Not this year.
Well, obviously. Thank you, Captain.
Captain Hook. Captain Hook and Ladder. Deshaun. Yeah, he's good.
Who's yours?
My player to watch this week is Mr. Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Nice.
For whatever reason, Stefanski's high on this guy. Not that he's bad, but he's like he thinks
he's a number one receiver.
He thinks he's the bee's knees because every time there's been an opportunity for an impactful play in a game in the last couple of weeks, Stefanski's going to DPJ.
Fade to the end zone, DPJ, jump ball king.
Every single time. And what I do think
6'2" of pure muscle gives DPJ maybe an advantage this week, and we've talked about the weather, and I've dismissed it all night, so this is kind of funny, I guess, or a little ironic, but he's a Michigan guy. So I think if there's any receiver on this team right now that's not going to be a giant wuss bag in the cold, he's probably the guy that shows up and will have steady hands all day, and Stefanski wants to force feed him the ball every time he can. So yeah, that's fair. I mean, you mentioned he's a Michigan guy. I'm surprised he's any good at all, so but
look, he's a Brown now. I can look past that, but
yeah.
That John Denver's full of shit, man.
Not sure what happened there, but all right.
All right, so your player to watch is DPJ.
DPJ.
Big Seal, you got a player to watch?
Big Seal. Big Sealy.
Really putting me on the spot. Here you go.
You can say no.
I mean, I'll agree with you, Deshaun Watson. I mean, we're paying him $230 million.
Low-hanging fruit there. I like it. That's what I went with, too.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
Ronnie hasn't tried for weeks. He's mailed it in.
I've mailed it in. The Browns...
3 weeks in a row, he's
the Browns, since they've been out of the playoffs, I just don't give a shit anymore. That's how it is. All right, so let's get into the King of the North.
Me, man. We're going to lose the other camera. We got to plug it in. So this was a disaster for a minute, but all right.
Yeah, I mean, technical difficulties.
That's what happens when you don't have a full show crew.
We need to hire one. Anyways, let's remind everybody of the tally here.
Seriously?
Yeah, let's just do it. In case anyone was
did we even do the sounder for this?
I figured it's time for King of the North. Should I just start over? No. I don't understand what's happening right now.
It's fine.
All right.
This has been the most disaster our podcast has been all season.
Reminder of the tally. I already mentioned it once in this episode.
Here we go.
I would love to mention it again, that I went 3-0 last week. Kenny went 1-2. That takes us to 31-16 for my record. And Kenny's at 22-25. And I'm pretty sure I've clinched. I don't think there's enough games for you to come back. But I'll get the final numbers on that. How many? Hey, Big Seal, how many games did you say are left in the AFC North?
I believe there's none.
You have to win them all, and I have to lose them all, or else I win. If we pick the same one time, you lose. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into our predictions here.
Well, that changes my week.
AFC North picks. Raiders at the Steelers. Kenny, who you got? Or you want me to go first so you can pick opposite?
Wow, both of these teams are bad. Which team is worse? Probably the Steelers. Nope, I can't pick them if you're going to pick them. I'm going to have to go Steelers to win.
Nice, you're picking the Steelers. So you mentioned that both these teams are bad. Well, here's some facts for you. The Raiders have won 4 out of 5, and the Steelers have won 4 out of 6. And Pickett is probably back for the Steelers, but you know what? It doesn't matter. Steelers are trash. I'm going with the Raiders.
All right, I guess I'm picking the Steelers this week.
Yep. So that brings us to the Bengals at the Patriots. And you know what? I'm going with the Bengals. The Patriots just suffered a devastating loss to the Raiders, and they're on the bubble right now for the playoffs. I think they're going to be done.
I have 2 reasons for picking the Patriots this week. One, now my dog is losing it. This podcast went off the rails. If you're listening, just turn it off. I have 2 reasons for picking the Patriots. One, I have to pick opposite of Ronnie, or I have no chance to win. And 2, I would not want to play for the New England Patriots this week because every day, Uncle Bill is just ripping them a new hole where there wasn't one before.
Do you think he just ends every practice with a screaming session of, remember when you guys lost the game from throwing them the ball?
I mean, he has to just be like, are you every time they walk into the room, are you stupid?
Oh, you're the idiot that threw the ball.
Are you dumb? Was it the most embarrassing play in the history of the game? Are you an embarrassment to mankind?
Yeah, that's fair. This next one's pretty good. So you're picking the.
Oh yeah, I guess I'll go with the Patriots this week. Yeah, for sure. It's a lock.
The Panthers at the Ravens. This is where it gets good because I know you don't want to pick the Panthers because they're trash. We all know they're going to lose. But I'm picking the Ravens, so I'm sure you're picking the Panthers.
Look, unless Lamar comes back this week, that team is not very good on their own.
Supposedly, there's a chance for him to play this week.
So
I think even without him,
I'm going to go with the outside chance that Lamar doesn't play this week, and Tyler Huntley is still ass bag. I'm going to go Panthers to win, and because I have to pick opposite of Ronnie.
That's the worst nickname, just ass bag. And then finally, we got the Saints at the Browns. The Saints.
I like how you wrote Saints B Browns. Like the Saints are.
I got auto-corrected, man.
They're being the Browns.
I got auto-corrected. Look, here's the deal. The Saints have that dome down there. They're a Southern team. I know the Red Rockets played in the cold before, but the Red Rocket likes to shrivel up in the cold, so I don't care that the Red Rocket has played here in the cold. The rest of the team is going to be too cold, and they ass. So the Browns win this one. But in Kenny's eyes, they do not.
God dang it.
You gonna pick the Saints? You gonna pick the Aints that you just called them? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, man? Remember, if you pick the Browns, I officially win now.
I guess for no other reason than the fact that this is like the Browns have a 1% chance of winning the playoffs.
Yep.
Everything has to go right. So I guess the Red Rocket is my choice.
You love Red Rockets.
I have no explanation for that because I would pick the Browns to win this game. So I'm just picking the Bengals, not the Bengals, the Saints.
You're picking the Bengals. It's the Browns versus the Saints, and Kenny's going with the Bengals.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton.
Man.
I'm going with the Saints just for that reason alone. I hate this game. We're not playing it next year.
All right, so let's go ahead and take one more revenue break and then get back here and wrap this thing up.
Well, you want me to hold it?
Towpath rum, silver rum made from the highest grade molasses, distilled 3 times in a copper pot still. This rum is designed to be the backbone of a great cocktail. So good you can also drink it by itself. Towpath rum. Go on and get some. That rhymes. That should be their slogan.
Before we talk about anything else, you mentioned you got auto-corrected.
Yeah.
On
yeah.
One of the Saints being the Browns.
Yeah.
I was just looking through my notes. Remember when I was angry?
I hope it's good.
When I was angry earlier at Kevin Stefanski for talking shit with Kurt Warner.
Yeah.
I wrote in my notes, "What a spice bag."
You definitely should have read that. What a spice bag. Kevin Stefanski is such a spice bag.
So, I don't know. We need a shirt that says Kevin's a spice bag.
Where's our t-shirt guy? Garrett, we need you to make us a t-shirt.
I didn't even see.
All right, so do you know what we're into now? For the land. All right, so we got the Cavs playing still. They're still playing fairly well, figuring things out here. Like we've been talking about, they've been dealing with some injuries, but they're starting to get some guys back. One thing Donovan Mitchell did say that was pretty cool this week is he's really appreciative of the fact that he's in Cleveland now. Said he didn't really like being in Utah. So that was pretty neat.
There's not a lot to do in Cleveland, but there's even
way more to do here than Utah.
In Utah. Yeah. We have like 2 streets that are cool. Utah's got some mountains.
Yeah. And then J.R. Smith was at the Browns game, he was at the Cavs game, and at the Cavs game, we thought it was pretty cool. He walked in and he said he had to stop and get a picture with Fred.
That is very cool. Fred McLeod.
R.I.P. Fred.
Hard to believe that he's been gone since 2019.
Yeah.
Just what a I burped. Stalwart, figure in Cleveland sports. So, that cool moment. But just the Cavs in general. Just a real quick standings update. So they're still 3rd seed in the East at 21-11, which is real nice. I think
21-11 is a good record. It's
kind of where they need to be. So.
Not really for the Lamb, but did you see John Daly show up at the PNC Championship?
I did. So they were the defending champion of the PNC thing.
Thing, yeah, I don't really know what it is, but thing.
He showed up 15 minutes before their tea time. 0 balls, 0 chips, 0 putts, just ready to go.
Dude doesn't need a warm up. He's just master class athlete.
And his son is just taking, following in his footsteps. I was actually just looking at John Daly's the tour averages from like when he was playing in his prime, and he literally led the PGA in driver distance for it was like 11 out of 12 years straight.
That's pretty impressive.
It was pretty wild, basically until Tiger showed up. And real quick, speaking of Tiger, Charlie, little 13-year-old Charlie, who Tiger has said his hands are officially bigger than his now. His glove size is bigger. Kid can rip it, and they had him slated to play the one-ups
with all the big boys.
With the big boys, with Vijay Singh and I forget who else was a part of that group, but guys that were playing shorter tees than Charlie Woods, 13-year-old Charlie Woods, are guys like Nick Faldo, Bernhard Langer, that I think is still playing on the Champions Tour, Annika Sorenstam. So yeah, he was just out there with
just world-class golfers that they had playing some shorter distances than Charlie Woods.
Yeah, 13-year-old Charlie. He's got some game.
That's always fun. So that's it for our For the Land segment. Kenny, let's go ahead and close this thing out. What can we expect next week?
What can we expect next week? I think.
Go.
Oh. Something bad happening?
No.
Are we under attack?
I'm asking you, what can we expect?
We're going to expect the final home game recap, Browns versus Saints. Hopefully celebrating a big Christmas weekend win. And then we will preview the Commanders matchup coming up. That should be a fun one here towards the end of the year, because the Commanders are one of those teams that has overperformed to this point with Taylor Heineke at the helm. So
their playoff chances took a big hit this past week.
Yeah, they may not, but they're a better team than anyone gave them credit for earlier in the season. And Taylor Heineke has played pretty well, so that'll be a fun game.
Fair. How'd our EP Big Seal? How'd you like it this week, man?
It's a good time, Gal.
He's excited about it.
It's good. It got a lot to learn. You know.
Yeah. Are you feeling like taking on the full-time role of EP?
You have a lot of buttons to push.
So many buttons.
Fair. So hopefully we can see Big Seal in the booth a lot more often moving forward. We'll see how things shake out. So as far as our social media and supporting us, you can find Tap In Media on Facebook and Twitter at The Tap In Media, and on Instagram at Tap In Media Official. You can find Burning River Sportscast. That's this podcast with these phenomenal dudes up here just slinging it on the mic. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Burning River Sportscast, and on Twitter at Burning River Pod. And then you can find our podcast wherever you get your podcast. That's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Stitcher, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, Castro, and so many more. And that's it.
That's it? That's the show? No, it's not it. I have one more thing.
Are you going to spit some facts?
Many of us have partake. Is it partook or partake?
Partaken.
But that would have a have in front, right?
Have partaken.
Have partaken.
Have partook.
In a prank
We part.
that went a little too far. And this such story is about a prank that went a little too far. 9 days before Christmas in 1965.
Ooh.
2 astronauts aboard the Gemini 6 told Mission Control that they saw an unidentified flying object about to enter Earth's atmosphere, traveling in the polar orbit from north to south. And things got really tense because it was 1965. We were like, "Is there aliens? This ain't good.
Isn't good.
We just got out here." And so, just as things got to a boiling point with Mission Control, they interrupted the broadcast with a harmonica version of Jingle Bells, accompanied by a shaking of a handful of sleigh bells. So Jingle Bells was officially the first song, Christmas carol, ever played in space.
Nice. That's pretty cool, I guess.
We've also talked a lot about...
Speaking of pranks going too far, do you remember one time in football we gave a kid a wedgie from a bed?
That was mean.
Yeah, but I don't condone that. We were young and dumb and don't do that. But
we weren't really bullying, but
no, he was having a great time.
It could be perceived that way. Yeah. He was having a great time. He was hanging from a bedpost by his underwear. That's not good.
No.
So we've talked.
Don't do that.
We've talked a lot about danger too this year on the podcast, about shark attacks and selfies and zombie New Yorkers. But
yes.
Did you also know that nearly 15,000 people each year are taken to the ER for holiday-related decorating incidents?
Wait. What could you possibly have to go to the ER for decorating incidents? The only thing I can think of is like cutting your hand on like a broken ornament or something.
People fall off ladders, hanging lights.
Yeah, I forgot. Hanging lights. Yeah, that's a bad one.
They burn their houses down with dry trees.
Yeah, water your trees, people. It's an important part of having a live tree. Water your tree.
They, blow up their garages with frozen turkeys. There's all kinds of ways Christmas is dangerous.
I guess now that you're saying it, I don't really know that blowing up your garage with a turkey is decorating related. But go on.
You might shock yourself with Christmas lights too. But finally, just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page here that ham is the official Christmas festive favorite.
Just had some ham on Saturday.
According to Google searches for recipes in November and December, ham is the most searched food item. To that, I would ask, what is your favorite Christmas dish?
I don't know. I don't know. I've never been...
I've never been asked that before.
Yeah. And we don't really... My
stumped.
family, when we do Christmas, a lot of the times it's just like we have food and you kind of hang out all day, and it's like it's not really a cohesive meal. It's kind of just a bunch of different things that we all just like, and we make it and we just hang out all day. So we do it a little bit different. We don't have like a sit down meal or anything like that. But that being said, you mentioned ham. Ham's always delicious. And then also probably have to go back to the same thing I said for Thanksgiving, although we didn't have it this year and I was pretty pissed. Pierogies are always a fan favorite. So us Polish people love pierogies.
Took a while to get there, but that was...
Just shut the hell up.
I mean, you could have just fell into the sponsor. My favorite holiday dish is towpath rum. But you didn't. You went everywhere but there.
You know what's funny is I put in the show notes like everything that we're going to talk about. Kenny puts in nothing. So I have absolutely no idea what he's going to say at any point.
That's not... That's how we keep it lively.
Yeah, I mean, I know, but I don't even know where conversation... Like Whatever. Go on.
Big Seal, favorite holiday dish for Christmas?
Honey baked ham.
Nice.
Honey baked ham.
Absolutely.
What about you?
My favorite holiday dish is the Yule log.
Yule log. Emily made one of those 2 years ago for the first time. It was fantastic.
I'm also a honey baked ham guy.
Nice.
So.
Good choice. Ham all around. Should we have ham tonight?
I wish I had something cool to say, but I like the honey baked ham. But I don't like it. Has
My cool
to be,
thing to say is I like ham.
That's going in the front of the show. It has to be the honey baked ham. And I know that sounds ridiculous. And when you see them priced at $100 for a 7-pound ham, you go, that's ridiculous. Who buys that? I don't know who buys it. But you know what? They're always sold out. So somebody is buying this ham because it is great. Sometimes on my way home, I'll just stop randomly at a honey baked ham and get a whole ham. And my wife is like, what are we doing with the whole ham? And I'm like, I love it. I'm going to eat it.
All right. My fun fact is I like ham.
Don't just be a part of the problem, be the whole damn problem.
And only you can prevent river fires.
Burning River.
Burning River Sportscast.
Wow. Burning River.
Burning River Sportscast.
Burning River.
Where is it?
Burning River.
Where is it?
Burning River. Burning River. Burning River. I'm having a stroke.
And totally redeem yourself. Slap at the bass. That sounded like Borat.
Yeah.
Slap at the bass. Big time.
That's better.